what I've been saying so far. In your book, in your folder there, you'll see a little outline for what I wanted to share with you. I try to place now our conversation in context, the context of the importance of cultural diversity. But another way to also get into what we're talking about is just to remind you that this is a pastoral conversation. And by its nature then, a pastoral conversation is really going to have to approach whatever it's dealing with in terms of a method that's deductive and or inductive. To be pastoral, we need to combine certain aspects of deduction with certain aspects of induction. Deduction because we have an identity, because the church has a teaching, because we have certain beliefs, because we have certain norms, and indeed we can't forget those. Okay, so to that extent, when we approach a pastoral reality, we have some deductive features to it. On the other hand, this reality of our identity, what we are, what we want to proclaim, the message or the content, if you will, that has to engage reality. So if it's going to be successful in engaging reality in terms of what we want to accomplish as church, we need to know our reality, which means we have to open our eyes and we have to proceed inductively, which means look at the people, understand them. Who are they? Where do they come from? What is their identity? What are their circumstances? And to really study these things, and to really know them. I've been amazed over the years, and once again, I don't want to be telling tales out of school, but I'll never forget a pastor in a certain place far away in California, not around here, far away in California, who one day I mentioned to him, you know, Father, there are a lot of Hispanics in your parish. And he said, Hispanics? What Hispanics? I've never seen a Hispanic. Hispanic hasn't knocked on my door. And I said, oh, they haven't knocked on your door. Well, I don't know, Father, but why don't you come with me just a minute? So I open the door to his rectory. I go down the steps. I walk about 15 feet over here, and there's a bus stop, all right? And there are about 6 people at the bus stop. And I come up to this lady and I said, Señora, ¿usted es católica? Dice, sí, yo soy católica. Señora, ¿usted vive cerca de aquí? Oh, sí, yo vivo allí. I said, Father, Hispanic, your parish. I mean, you know, kind of a. However, I could have brought him the census report for his district, which would have shown that there were about 25% of the whole population was Hispanic. And from that you can, and the low figure, what percent of Hispanics are Roman Catholics? You know, about minimum would be 60, maybe 65, 70% are identified as Roman Catholics, okay, of the Hispanic peoples. So that percentage would be the Catholics in his parish. I'm old enough, once again, to remember a thing called the parish census. Remember the parish census? I mean, really, pastors were really serious about the parish census. Canon law mandated that every pastor had to do a census. He had to keep information about every household in his parish. And there was this organized thing of going door to door to find out who's here, who's here, who's here. And I remember the very conscientious pastors would say, oh, you know, so-and-so lives there, how many are baptized, who needs to get married, whatever. But that was a very careful thing that was mandated. Okay. Well, in the new code of canon law, they got rid of that requirement, it seems. Huh? But, okay, how do we today figure out the reality of our parish? You know what I mean? Is it just by who shows up at the parish? In other words, if that's the case, then our parishes are not evangelizing parishes, huh? They're maintaining parishes, you know, that our psychological focus is on maintaining them, which is good. I know that's a struggle and everything else. But however, the ideal that the church proposes to us is not just maintaining them, but actually making them centers of mission, whereby people are called to go out in order to proclaim the good news. You know, and I will end before our question period on this note. You might be detecting it in underlying, you know, the way that I'm speaking about these matters. I believe that the church, at the Second Vatican Council, and in the period afterward, particularly in Evangelii Nuntiandi, proposed to us the idea that evangelization is the reason why it exists. And it developed what that meant. In the world of catechesis, it's actually been integrated. This concept, this framework for understanding what we're about, has been integrated, I think, very well in documents like the General Directory for Catechesis. I don't know if you've seen that. But the way it talks about what we are doing as church really puts evangelization right in the middle of it. And when you make evangelization the center of what our mission is, you necessarily have to approach culture. You have to deal with the issue of cultures, because culture is the object of all evangelizing. Okay, I believe that the church has told us that, but I agree with Cardinal Dulles when he observed that the church's teaching on evangelization has not really been taken to heart very much in the United States. Okay. In other words, as you know, there's a whole theory and theology about reception. You know, the Holy Father teaches, the bishops teach, and then the people receive or they don't. And there are various reasons why they don't receive what the church teaches sometimes. But in the case of this teaching on evangelization, I think that's kind of where we are. The crisis or the opportunity that we have right now in the context of this demographic shift, it seems to me, it should be leading us to taking a really serious look at what the church says it's about in evangelizing, because then that would provide us with a certain motivation, I believe, to see what's going on now as things are changed and transformed and new peoples come in, and as the clergy, the number of the clergy is being reduced, as laity, the number of lay ecclesial ministers goes up, all of these things, it's fascinating, to view that as really from the lens of evangelization, that is, from the point of view of mission, and not from the point of view of oh my God, things are changing, how awful, my parish isn't going to look or be the same as it used to be. That's right, it isn't. So either this can be bad, or this can be a new opportunity to get with it, and move on to the next. I firmly believe that, these parishes that we have to close in some places. I don't know if you've had to close any here, but certainly in some of your neighboring dioceses, they've had to close them. That every one of them could be filled and could be thriving if we really made a greater effort to reach out to the Latinos. The Latinos are going to support a church that they perceive to be somehow theirs. I mean, any group. That's a principle in fundraising, People aren't going to support something if they're not invested in it. So we have to figure out, how are the Latinos going to get invested in their parish, in their local church? Well, they have to see some relationship. We have to build relationships with the people. And that takes doing. I know it's a question of language, understanding culture, and all these things, but if we want the church to grow and to flourish with what we got, I don't see any other path moving forward. So it's a big challenge, and that's why these resources that I mentioned there are ones that open up the whole question of evangelization.